The Boston Celtics are the best team in the league so far this season, and while it might not come as a surprise to some people because they were just in the finals last year, with everything that happened over the offseason and some of the adjustments that they've made, it definitely came as a surprise to me. And there are just some clear differences from this Celtics team to last year's Celtics team, and they're extremely noticeable. And some of them are due to coaching and a change in game plans, and others could just be a shift in the culture of this team, the identity, finally tapping into that championship contender that everybody knows they could be. But before getting into the video, I just want to say, if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. With it being that time of year where CPMs are high, I am trying to get a piece of that pie. I am not gonna lie to y'all. Like, the grind to monetization is real. But in all seriousness, make sure to hit the subscribe button for new videos. I'm definitely trying to be more consistent on this channel, and I'm trying to work out a consistent upload schedule for this channel also, and I'm trying to make some waves in 2023. So if you want to be a part of the journey, make sure to subscribe. Okay, I'm not going to sit up here and lie. I thought the Boston Celtics were going to struggle without Ime Udoka, but not to the extent that they were struggling last year. You see, last year they were one of the most disappointing teams to start the season. Offensively, they just didn't look like they knew what they were doing. Things just looked sluggish. Jason Tatum really wasn't showing the amount of potential that he really could have. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown was looking like the clear number one on the team. And then once the new year hit, as everybody knew, they completely flipped the script. And the thing that really made the Celtics the best team in the league for the second half of last season was their defense. And a lot of people thought that would just translate over to this season, but they're only 11th in defensive rating this year. Robert Williams has been out. The reigning defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, has been disappointing defensively, as his defensive rating is 114. And even though they retained most of their personnel, guys like Derek White, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, and they even got a guard in Malcolm Brogdon, somebody who they really needed defensively, who is a great 3-and-D guard and who fits the timeline of this team perfectly. And the main reason why I would say the Celtics have been disappointing defensively is Robert Williams not being there. I think he has a bigger impact on this team's defense than people give him credit for. Last season, he nearly led the league in blocks despite being extremely undersized for his position, and he was also nearly at the top of the league in defensive win shares. All I'm saying is, if he was doing that for the entire season, he would have had an argument for Defensive Player of the Year and would have been an easy lock for all defensive first team. Williams also held players to below 40% field goal percentage when he was defending them, and he was also extremely great at defending the rim, as opposing teams only shot 60% at the rim, which was ranked 5th last year. So when Robert Williams comes back to this team, definitely expect their defense to improve drastically. Now, I'm not going to say that they're going to automatically become the best defensive team in the league. I don't think this team is touching the Cavaliers defensively, but I'll say that their personnel is definitely good enough to be towards the top of the league. And the crazy thing about the Celtics last season is that they were 7th in offense, while simultaneously being 2nd in defense. So my theory is that defensively, they aren't really being tested on that side of the ball. I think Joe Mazzulla has tried to make this team the best offensive team as possible. I think Joe Mazzulla coaches his team in a way where offense is more of a focus for them, because their personnel is already so great. But Ime Udoka really tapped into that potential that they had and made them a defensive force, because he knew how great Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were. He knew that guys in the starting lineup and off the bench could produce, but he just wanted that Celtics defense to make up the identity of this team. Meanwhile, Joe Mazzulla had just done a complete 180, as currently right now at the time of this recording, the Celtics offensively have been amazing, historic. Like, literally, some of these numbers that I'm looking at don't even make sense. At the time of this recording, the Celtics are 21-5, 11-2 at home, which is the best record in the league, and net rating of 8.8, which is just insane. And they rank first in 3-pointers made, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, and points per game. And they currently have the highest offensive rating in NBA history. And that's through a quarter of the NBA season. So it's not like this is some small sample size. This is over 26 games. And speaking of their 3-point shooting, as I mentioned before, they rank first in the league with 40% shooting as a team, with 5 guys shooting above 40% on a minimum of 4 attempts a game. Those guys being Al Horford, number 1, who's shooting 46% on nearly 5 attempts per game, which is a career high. Malcolm Brogdon, who's shooting 49% on close to 4 attempts a game. Derek White, who's shooting 43% on nearly 4 attempts. Grant Williams, who's shooting 46% on nearly 4 attempts, and Sam Hauser, who's shooting 45% on nearly 5 attempts. And speaking of this team's insane efficiency, they have a true shooting percentage of 61.9% as a team. That is literally unheard of. And if we're getting into the individual guys on this team, Jason Tatum is playing like an MVP, like 100% flat out playing like an MVP. I think he's going to win it, as he's averaging 30.8 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, and 4.5 assists on 62.1% true shooting. And his shooting splits honestly look pretty good, as averaging 30.8 points per game on 48, 36, 87 split while shooting nearly 10 threes a game is impressive in my book. It doesn't feel like a whole 1A, 1B situation with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It looks like Tatum is the guy on this team, and it's looking like that role is going to be sustainable for him for a really long time. Now, Jaylen Brown, on the other hand, has been playing out of his mind. He's averaging 26.7 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, and 3.6 assists. Also shooting 60% true shooting with a steal and 0.4 blocks per game. And he's just been the perfect second option for this team. The duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown averaging 50 plus is wild to me. Usually it would be a guy averaging 30 plus and then his co-star would average like low 20s, possibly even below 20 points per game. But nah, both of these guys are scoring at will, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to sustain it throughout the entire season. I mean, Jason Tatum is a natural scorer. Jaylen Brown is looking like he's going to become more of a natural scorer. And every season, they look more and more comfortable with each other and are looking like they can coexist as a duo and win a championship together. And if you were a betting man and you had the Celtics coming out of the East this year, that's probably the safest pick you could go with. Because right now, nobody can touch them offensively, as they're having a historically amazing season on the offensive side of the ball. And while defensively it hasn't been perfect, I think when some of their guys come back, I think things are going to turn around on that side of the ball too. Because while yes, Ime Udoka did have a huge influence on their defense, he's just a coach and he can only affect so much on the court. And I'm sure that a lot of the influence that Udoka did have on that defense is still being felt to this day. And my expectations for the Celtics team is at minimum a conference finals appearance. I think they're good enough to make it to the finals. I think they're good enough to win a championship. And when healthy, they're the best team in basketball. And we should be seeing this team playing in June. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But that'll be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want to join the road to getting monetized, subscribe. And also, give me your thoughts on the Celtics. What do you think about how they've been playing so far this season? What do you think about Jason Tatum? Do you think he's the MVP? Let me know in the comment section below. That's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one, and peace.